Basically, you guys know in the other video, I upgraded my Marlin firmware to 1.1. First off, the acceleration settings, well, for the S5 anyway, I don't want to say this for the CR-10, but I have the S5. The default Marlin acceleration settings and jerk settings are way too high for my machine anyway. I had purchased this table on Amazon and I actually reinforced it with wood just to make it sturdier. This thing does not shake. So at first I thought it was my table maybe vibrating and giving me, I had a lot of ringing around corners. I want to show you this benchy. See that ringing around the corner? It's just very sloppy printing with the default settings. I was screwing around with it forever in my simplified 3D settings, and I took apart my whole extruder head, made sure everything was tight, went through every bolt in the machine, made sure it was tight. To be honest with you, I did find a little slop in the wheels in the extruder, but I tightened them. This is how this whole thing started for me anyway. I was trying to print out a Groot. I have a few of them. I have a Groot here, which I painted and stained. I have one up there, which I didn't stain yet. And I wanted to print a big one actually, you know, a nice giant Groot on my S5. And I couldn't get every single curve and turn. There was waves everywhere. It was really frustrating. So before I go into my settings on the firmware end and on simplified 3D, we'll go to that in a minute. I want to show you what my outcome was. Let me just turn this light on so you guys can get a decent view here. That's my music studio, by the way. My little drums, my Mac, my board, my little Flashforge finder. Let me tell you something before I even get into all this. This machine never fails me. Honestly, it doesn't even have a heated bed. A little hairspray. I have some build tack on there. Don't even really need hairspray with the build tack. You could tether it. You can shut off your PC during the tether. It has a SD card built into the motherboard. It keeps on going. The thing makes brilliant prints. I printed this Pokemon ball. I printed this skull. I've printed plenty of things. Basically everything up here is from either my Prusa or the S5. So this is my big elephant for the S5 that I did. So I want to show you this actually. This is another bad print. So came out okay. Started getting messed up, but I'm not sure if this is bed leveling. It's a whole other end. Look at that. It's a shame I gotta print it again, but for right now it looks good on one side. It's gonna stay on my shelf. Okay, let's get back to where we started. So this machine, Flashforge Finder, I recommend for any newbie. Let me tell you, this is not an ordinary Flashforge Finder that you find red, or I think they have a couple of colors now. This is a Creative Tools Special Edition. I print TPU. I print wood filaments. I printed flexible filaments. This thing is amazing. I bought it from Europe. It was the same price. I'll give you guys the link in the description. This thing prints everything. And it's, honestly, I haven't got one fail from this thing. This was my first 3D printer that I bought. And honestly, I use it to this day. I print it out. Like I'll print, for this Grassman, I printed the body of the Grassman on my Prusa while I was printing the teeth on my Creative Tools Flashforge Finder. Same thing with like all these little guys. These were all printed on the Flashforge Finder. This guy, this is wood filament. Look at the detail. It's amazing. Now I'm trying to get this detail out of my S5, and now that the light is on, I want to show you the benchy I got. You sit down. I'm going to just pause this print. This is another, I have some filament left over, so let me just print out a benchy. Because I want to go over some firmware settings, but I might, I actually could do it while it's printing. So here is the benchy. The magnificent benchy, by the way, with my new settings. Let's see if we can get a focus here. Let's put it down. Not a ring in sight. Now mind you, I couldn't get this thing to print wood filament for nothing. The thing is mint. Look at that benchy. And those of you with the S5, I know Josh, I've been watching him. When I ordered my S5, he had just got his. And I know he had some issues. Other than a little, this might have been me bumping into stuff, little lines, because I was so fed up. But this benchy is pretty flawless for wood filament anyway, and my printer. So I'm almost perfect. To me, I'm satisfied with this print with wood filament. So I want to go over some settings. So let's go to Simplified 3D. Look at all my benchies. Let me go into my process. Let me zoom in here a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, so we're going to go over my primary extruder settings. So I have my nozzle diameter set to 0.40. I have my extrusion multiplier set to 1.0. I have my extrusion width set to manual 0.45. I was screwing around with this the other day, and I seem to be getting nice clean layer lines with 0.45 and a 1.00 extrusion multiplier. Retraction. Now this took a while before I didn't see any stringing, but since I've used these settings, I have no stringing whatsoever. Now I believe I got the retraction settings off another profile on YouTube, or maybe from the Facebook page. And so I basically combined, people's profiles, certain settings for retraction, certain settings for, extruding, and basically modified and tinkered around until I kind of understood what they actually did and made everything work out. So far so good. I'm happy with my benchy. So my retraction distance is set to 6.80 millimeters. I don't have any restart distance. I don't have any vertical lift for retraction. My speed now is a little weird now. It's 100,000.0 millimeters per minute. Now it looks scary, but it works. So my primary extruder, I normally print my primary layer height at 0.2. A lot of you do. I always go with top solid layers. I've come up with that number because when I do hollow objects like the Pikachu and vases, and I've noticed with 3 it cleans up the mess, 4 just gets there, but 5 kind of makes it perfect. You have a totally smooth top, and that's normally when I print hollow objects. It works out really well. So I go 3 bottom solid layers, 2 outline perimeter shells. I will go 3 outline perimeter shells depending on the complexity of a vase. Like for instance, I'll show you this real quick in front of the camera. Okay, like you have like a rocket. I know you can't see it, but it's dark. You have a rocket with a basic complexity, a basic shape. I'll leave it 2 perimeter shells, or at that height. If I expand it and make it, say, 500, I make it the size of my bed, I'll give it 3 to 4 outline perimeter shells, only because I've noticed with the fan, and this was the original fan, this is not the upgrade that I've done, I haven't really printed anything totally hollow like a vase-like or rocket with the new fan. But I am going to show a video of the bridging. I was fooling around the other day and I designed a little bridging STL, and let me tell you, I was bridging shit from one corner, excuse my French, from one corner of the bed to the next. And it was rock solid with that fan. Now, I've seen some people on the Facebook group state that, how's that fan upgrade with lowering the speed. Now, I tried to lower the speed today just for shits and giggles. I haven't had a problem with it, but I tried to lower the speed of the fan, and it kind of shut the fan down. It has to be at 255 in the firmware. I didn't screw around with it in the cooling settings in Simplified 3D, but so far I haven't had an issue, and I will definitely test that. But I'm going to show you that video of the bridging. I have a few clips of me doing it. I want to do I want to get into more detail, because that fan mod, I'll put the link again in the description. And that dual fan mod is awesome. So let's get back to this, because I have so much content I want to share with you guys, but I have no time. I work a full-time job. I come home, I get to tinker around for a little bit, and I want to make 1,000 videos with each topic. I would love to make a video of my Prusa, my creative tools, Flashforge, every little thing I've done. I don't really have much time. I will start getting into more detail for each subject. I just got started with this video thing, so you gotta bear with me. So I'll keep on talking. So let's go to the layer height. So these are my settings. Again, I have 5 top solid layers, 3 bottom, 2 outline. First layer height I have at a 100%. My first layer width I have at 95. First layer speed, I bumped it up a little bit to 60%. I believe I had it at 50, but I haven't seen any significant change or error. Skirt and brim, I use 1 skirt layer. My skirt offset is like 1.8 millimeters. I like keeping it tight. I don't want no string. 1 skirt outline, I'm pretty good with now. My infill, I usually print at 10%. Most of the time, if I need something, kind of solid, I'll go with 20. Anything big, I usually try to print hollow, or 5 to 6%. Okay, so I go with grid. My fill percentage is 10%. My outline overlap is 21%. My infill extrusion width is 100%. My minimal infill length is 2.00 millimeters. Sparse level, print sparse infill every 1 layer. I kept the default at like 45 degrees. My support settings, did change these. I got 30%, 1.40 millimeters on the inflation distance. I have no 0 on the support layers for the dense support layers. My infill percentage, my dense infill percentage is 70%. I print support every 1 layer. I believe that's almost default. I changed like inflation distance. My horizontal offset is 0.20. My vertical separation is 1. My lower vertical separation is 1. I got a support pillar resolution of 4.00 and a max overhang of 45. Okay, temperature. This doesn't matter for me. In my CR-10 S5 has an external printer bed, so it's turned off in the firmware. So I basically just print at 60 to 65, mostly 65 when with the glass bed, just to compensate. I like printing my PLA between 55 and 60, so I go 65 to compensate for the glass bed. My extruder temperature, first layer, is 215. My second layer is 200. On the fan end, I've kept it simple. Layer 1, it's off. Layer 2, I turn it on 100%. I haven't had a problem. I tried different steps, turning the second layer 50%, third layer, 75, that whole thing. It really hasn't done anything special for me. So far, I haven't had any problem with waving hollow objects with the new fan setup. It's weird. I had a lot of problems printing a rocket scaled up to 500%, I believe, or 800%, with the stock fan and the modified fan shroud or cover, whatever you guys want to call it. You guys know what I'm talking about. But once I put this dual fan mod, I thought I was going to have an issue with, it being so strong, but it's been amazing. The part cools instantly. There's no time for it to warp. And the only thing that's a little weird is like if you go over a vase when it's making its retraction or moving its axis around the actual item, printing part that you're printing at the moment, you hear the wind howl inside the vase or the Pikachu, for instance. Like I printed the other day, it was like a tornado coming by. It was pretty cool, but it hasn't knocked anything over or given me any problems. So basically, I go layer 1 is 0, 2 is 100%. I do adjust printing speed for layers below 15.0 seconds. Allow speed reductions down to 5%. And my bridging fan speeds overrides 100%, but it really doesn't matter because I'm always printing at 100% anyway. Okay, for my G code, basically I have the 500 by 500 by 500 millimeter. This is basically all default Marlin rep wrap. Scripts. I do have a starting script. I basically home all my access, do a lift over the bed, over the binder clips, prime the extruder, do a quick wipe. It's basic. I think I got this off of Facebook. I am going to add my G29, I believe it is, because I just printed out the dual fan mount with the bracket to hold the ABL sensor that I ordered. So layer change script, I don't have anything. Retraction script, nothing. Tool change, nothing. My ending script, turn off extruder, turn off bed, prepare for part removal, disable motors, turn off fan. Plays a few beeps, good to go. Okay, now default printing speeds. This is what I have now. I print at 3600.0 millimeters per minute. My outline on this speed is 50. Depending on the part, I might lower it to 40. If it's really complex, I'll lower it to 40. If it's basic shapes, I'll leave it at 50. Sometimes I'll even go to 80, honestly, if I'm printing something very basic. My solid infill on the speed is 80 constantly. My support structure on the speed is always 80%. My XY axis movement speed, I kept it at 4800 and 1000 for my Z. Now, I was screwing around with this. I spoke to Chris from Tiny Machines when I got the firmware. He told me to lower this XY axis movement speed setting. Like, bring it down 1000 because I was having those issues with the waving. I basically had to bring it down to like a crawl for it to print something halfway decent. Now I'm talking about, I brought it down to like 2000.0 millimeters per minute. I brought my outline on the speed to like 30%. I had it so, it took basically 3.5 hours to print a benchy that came out decent. It was actually this one with no lines, with no waves anyway. This benchy. I'll show you guys after. So far, I put it back to my normal settings. I started screwing around with the jerk and the acceleration. We'll go to that in a second. My filament diameter obviously is 1.75. Pricing doesn't matter. Density 1.25. Okay, so my bridging, my unsupported area threshold. Now I've been screwing around with this a little bit. I these are not my final settings because I messed around with it so I think this might be default. I'm not even 100% sure. When I was bridging that test bridge STL that I created on my S5 with the new fan, I had these numbers all over the place. Now I do have it written down somewhere, I believe in my file. I wrote down some settings. I want to come up with all my settings and do a nice video because it's pretty awesome how the dual fan mod bridges. But so far I'm kind of staying with these as default and they're working fine. So I printed a few things so far. So my unsupported area thresholds 50.0 square millimeters. My extra inflation distance is 1.0 millimeters. My bridging extrusion multiplier is 100%, and my bridging speed multiplier is 100%. So that's basically it on the simplified 3D. I don't have anything. I force retraction between layers. My minimal travel for retraction is 3.00. I perform retraction during wipe movement. Only wipe extruder for outermost perimeters. I don't check avoid cross and outline for travel movements. My tool change retraction distance 12.00 millimeters. My tool change extra restart distance is negative 0.50. My tool change retraction speed is 600.0 millimeters per minute. Okay, the wall behavior. Allow gap fill when necessary. Allow perimeter overlap 25%. So these are my CR-10. Let me just update it. I changed stuff. This is my CR-10 S5 profile settings. And I want to go over to the Marlin now. I'm going to take this off. Okay, so this is the Marlin 1.1 software. Now this is during the print, so these are the options you can do actually during the print. But you can tune obviously. These are your tune settings. You have your speed, your nozzle, your fan speed, your flow, your tiny Z-step, and you can actually now change filament. If you change your filament, it actually changes your filament. It'll walk you through the steps. It actually works. I had issues trying to do that with the other one. Now these are my control settings. Now you have your temperature, which I only control my nozzle because I have the external heater bed. This is where you get into stuff. Now these are my firmware settings. Now I know they're a little low, but this is all the default was 1000 for my Excel. Could not print anything. This thing was just banging all over the place. I lowered that down to 300. So it seems like 3 is my magic number. So I've lowered my Excel from 1000 to 300. I've lowered my X from 20 to 3. I've lowered my Y jerk from 20 to 3. That's Chris had told me to set that up originally from Tiny Machines. Now I went through all these. I've went at 1000, 900, changed this to 8, 7, 6. I went through every possible combination. This is what I came up with my heavy. You know, I did upgrade the glass. The bed's a little heavier. I have the dual fan mod. It's actually lighter than the other case. You know, I thought maybe this had something to do with the effects of my printing. Oh, I almost paused my print. Okay. So I got my X, Y, and Z. Well, actually my X and my Y set to 3. My Z jerk was originally 2.70 from Time Machines. I changed it just to 2. Seems to help a lot. I changed my E from 5 to 3, the jerk. Everything else is default from Tiny Machines. Now if you guys, these are all my default settings, 500. My max is 500, my Y is 500. I don't want to give away all their little secrets. But by the way, Tiny Machines, great company, fast shipping. They have the patience to deal with you so far anyway. Chris is a great guy. He'll call him, talk to you for 10-15 minutes. He'll walk you through whatever you got to do. He's a good guy, by the way. I'll link to Tiny Machines website. Check them out. They're really good. Okay, so that's my motion setting. So let me tell you, those of you with the S5, I know Josh, I'm not sure if you're having like waving issues. I know you're the only one I know who can relate with me, who has an S5, that I know anyway. And these are my settings, so I'll show you them again. If you could share what you got, would be great, Josh. I'd like to see what you got, and because I refuse to put my printer on the floor. I'm a little worried for you when I see yours laying on the floor in the carpet like that. I picked up this art table from Amazon and just reinforced it. It's been great ever since I put the wood legs on it. Alright, so these are my settings and the firmware. I'm not sure what that is. I don't want to screw around with it. So you can store your memory, load your memory, restore your defaults. And that's basically it. Those are my firmware settings.